All right, so today we are talking about reading scientific papers, which we've already had a brief introduction to. And before we get into the meat of things, I want to remind everyone and talk a little bit about why this is important. Again, if you are interested and motivated in the topic and understand why it's important to your particular life and your career goals, then you'll be more likely to retain this information long term. So here in this little short video, what I want us to think about is why this is important to you. So specifically, think about your future career goals. And we've talked about this a little bit before. And here again, when we're talking about reading scientific papers, again, one of the reasons why this is important is because it relates back to skills that are desired by employers. So one of the main skills, if you do Google searches or just talk to employers, one of the main things they're looking for and the skills they're looking for in their employees is information literacy. And that definition is listed right here. But information literacy is this set of abilities that requires individuals to recognize what information is needed, and then those individuals also, if you're information literate, have the ability to locate, so to find, evaluate, and then use effectively that needed information. And so this definition relates to reading scientific papers. Oftentimes in many scientific and biology related careers, a lot of that information you're going to need for various things is located within scientific papers. So it's really important that you have a general grasp and understanding of what the different components of the papers are, and then also to be able to find the information. So find the information that you need, find the papers that you need, evaluate it. So that'll tie in a little bit to next week when Dr. Crawford will talk about analyzing scientific literature. Today we're going to focus on reading it and then using that information. So again, that'll tie into next week, but we're laying the foundation for that here. So when we're thinking about information literacy, in order to be information literate, we must develop the following things. So they're listed here. First of all, how do you find meaning in the information that you discover? So that's one of the things we're going to talk about today, is when you're reading these scientific papers, how to find the main points, how to determine the content that's in these different sections so you can then decipher the meaning. So remember, I used that maybe weird analogy of the code, right? And so when we're talking about reading scientific papers, here we're going to try to give you the code needed to be able to understand the information. The second point here is how to articulate what kind of information you require. So that can relate to reading scientific papers. When we're thinking about, you can read scientific papers for slightly different reasons. So you might just want to look at the method section if you specifically are trying to figure out what to do for your own experiments, or you might just be interested in the background for that topic, so it would be the introduction. So we'll talk a little bit today about what the different parts are in the scientific papers, and so that will help us determine how to articulate what information we need. And then the last part here again gets back to evaluating that information for credibility and authority, and that again we'll focus on next week when we talk about analyzing the scientific literature. So we'll save that for later, but we'll give you a bit of a foundation for these first 2 points today.